back for another little episode, quick one. I'm thinking about something that just popped in my head here, and I was thinking about politics. Yep, spoiler alert. I'm about to talk about some politics, but not in the way that you think, though. What I want to do is, because I'm always talking about the terms and understanding the terms and what things really mean or what they're really about, here's what I want to say. The reality is, when it comes to the idea of politics in a relationship, it's a taboo subject, and people say, keep politics out of your relationships. Wow, that sounds like a good piece of advice. I mean, it sounds so wonderfully modern and progressive. It sounds like we're just trying to live us up. But here's the problem with that theory. And this is what I was thinking about as I was going through that in my head, and how I'm going to talk about politics without really talking about politics. The reality is, your political view, just like almost everything else in your life, is going to be based on what? Your values. What you perceive to be right, wrong. What you perceive to be good, evil. What you perceive to be valuable to you. Something that's valuable to you. Now, here's where I have a problem when people use that term, don't put politics in your relationships. Your political view is formed by the very values that you have. And if your political views are formed by the values you have, how then can you tell a person that politics in a relationship don't matter? You're saying that their values don't matter, because that's how you form your political views, is values. Now, as a Christian, of course, I'm going to always go by the two verses and the two things in the Bible that stand out clearly to me. One is when we're told that how can two walk together unless they be agreed? Two people who don't agree cannot walk together. That just doesn't make any sense. I want to go left, she wants to go right. My friend wants to go left, I want to go right. My children want to go right, I want to go left. That makes no sense. How can two walk together unless they be agreed? The other thing that's brought to mind for me is that we are not to be unequally yoked. Unequally yoked literally means that we just don't have the same values. If we don't have the same core values, why are we linking together? We don't agree at our core of who we are. You cannot link together with someone that you don't share core values with. I know they want to modernize things and they want to try to make things progressive, and I'm not saying that we should not be progressive. I'm progressive when it comes to science and technology, but I'm not progressive when it comes to stupidity. Stupidity is stupidity. If me and my partner, or me and my wife, or me and my children have significantly big rifts in our core values, we cannot have a relationship. It's going to suck really bad. It'll suck the life out of that relationship. So we cannot have differing core values to the point that we don't have any ground or foundation that we can stand on. So it is wrong to say that politics have no place in your relationship when it has a very key defining moment in your relationship, because it talks about your values, who you value versus who they value. If you have differing values, the two cannot walk together. They cannot be agreed. You cannot be in a relationship with someone who has differing, like, when I say absurdly different, I don't mean on small, tiny, little things. Like, I think 10 kids. That's not a value. A value is something that is at the core of who you are, the essence of who you are. Your beliefs. Do you believe in God? Do they believe in God? Do they not believe in God? How is it that two people can say they can come together when one believes in God and one doesn't? One believes in Jesus, another one believes in Buddha. One believes in Catholicism, the other one believes in Buddhism. That doesn't even make sense. It makes no sense, because that's the core value of who you are. And I know people want to try to make it make sense, but that's because people are becoming desperate for relationships, when really all we got to do is take care of this at the core. Before you even get with someone, get to discuss these things. Figure out whether or not you have the same core values. If you got the same core values, you'll be okay. But if you don't have the same core values, you're going to struggle. It's not going to work. That's where politics comes in. Politics are formed, your political view, your political perspective is formed by your core values. Who you are, what do you believe, where you come from, what do you want? These things form your political values, your political view, and therefore they cannot be negated in a relationship. I'm just saying, it's foolish to believe that politics will never play a part in your relationship, or you can ignore politics in your relationship because it makes no sense. It is going to kill your relationship at some point. It is going to cause a lack of communication. Remember I said no communication is the problem, not some communication. We can agree to disagree, but we cannot not communicate. We have to communicate. We have to communicate these things. And if we were communicating these things prior to us entering into any kind of relationship, any kind of situation, we would already know what these people believe, and we would already, most likely, if we're smart enough, we'd avoid that relationship because it makes no sense. Because there are different types of relationships. Remember that. And we're going to deal with that at some point. But what I'm saying is, do not think that politics are not going to damage your relationship. Do not try to listen to these fools who are out here telling you that politics have no place in your relationships. They do. They're the core values of who you are. They are you. You are them. Because if you don't, you're going to end up like a lot of these so-called evangelicals who put their core values to the side to vote for a person who is immoral. And yes, I'm saying this in a vlog post. I normally wouldn't talk about it like this, but it's the essence, and it helps to understand what I'm saying. You got a Trump supporter and you got a Obama supporter. You got one person said they did not vote for Obama because they didn't believe in his values, his core values. But those very same people voted for Donald Trump. Go figure. That makes no sense. How can you sit there and say that? One person has no values that you believe in, and he has not shown himself to be immoral. As a matter of fact, Obama showed himself to be very moral, a person who was upstanding, upright. He's imperfect. No one was. And then I tell people the caveat. I, myself, didn't agree with his views either. But if I didn't agree with his views, personal views, why would I agree with Donald Trump's personal views? You see where the contradiction comes in? So what do you think that's going to do in a relationship? If I'm sitting there saying my core values are, I love morality, I love being righteous, I love following people who are doing the right thing, but then I go and I vote for someone who does the very opposite of that, you think that's not going to affect my family? Because really what I'm saying is I don't have any core values. You get it? Politics do play a part in your family. Politics do play a part in your relationships. Why? Because it's the core values of who you are. If you are telling me that it doesn't, then you're telling me you don't have core values. You're telling me you don't have beliefs. You have no foundation. You have nothing. And if you have nothing, how can you bring that into a relationship? It's your boy. I'm just telling you. I'm just saying. We want to build relationships. One. We want to build a society. One relationship at a time. But we got to dispel these myths. Yes, politics do play a part in your relationships. Always has and always will.